Yo, Thought Warriors. Higher Learning is on. It's Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel Lindsay.
It's a very special episode of Higher Learning. Higher Learning SDU, Special Democrats Unit. We're performing an autopsy of the Democratic Party right now, what happened with them over the course of the last week in which they were dead on arrival.
So, not dead on arrival. So, SDU, Democrats Unit, makes us the Democrats. You know that, right?
Why? Why is that?
Well, you're defining the unit. The unit is about to get to work. So if we are the Special Democrats Unit, we are Democrats.
Well, the Democrats are...
We are the unit.
You're right. No, you're right. But the Democrats are the victims. So...
I get what you did.
So, how would we do it? No, you're not wrong. How would we do it then? It would be Higher Learning. Donnie?
Can we still be SVU and the victims are the Democrats? No, they're not the victims. They're not the victims, actually.
They're the victims.
They're not the victims.
What's the best way to do it? Higher
What about
Learning.
a play on CSI? Like
There you go.
DSI?
DSI.
What does CSI stand for?
Crime Scene Investigators.
Scene investigators.
Okay, I like the we're the Dem scene investigators.
Oh,
good job.
Okay. Higher Learning
I like
DPI,
it, Donnie.
Democratic Party Investigators.
There we go.
Great.
Okay, let's do it again. We got to do the opening again.
Did it.
Leave this all in. We figured it out on the fly. We got to do the opening
Give us like
again.
a rewind music. Give us the rewind music.
Yo, Thought Warriors. What is up? Higher Learning is on. It is Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel Lindsay.
This is Higher Learning SDI, CDI. Higher Learning CDI. Damn, I fucked it up. What did we say it was?
Democratic Party investigators. DPI.
Okay.
It's DPI.
All right. Last time. DPI.
Keep it in.
Keep it in. Last time. Last time. Yo, Thought Warriors. Higher Learning is on. It is Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel Lindsay.
Very special episode of the show today. Higher Learning DPI, as we will be investigating the Democratic Party, which is dead on arrival as of November 5th, 2024. Sergeant Lindsay?
Detective.
Excuse me. Detective
You're
Lindsay?
right. Put some respect.
Yeah. We are now nearly a week removed from one of the crimes of the century, which is the complete shellacking of the Democratic Party. Do you have any new thoughts and feelings before we get into our autopsy of the patient?
I won't say new thoughts. It's just more of thoughts that, and we'll get into it, that we didn't express the last episode because I think there was a different way to talk about it. Now it's time to get into the nitty gritty of it all. And if I have one thought, it really is the shift in the way the media is discussing the election since the results have come in, is the way the media is discussing Kamala Harris, the way the media is discussing Donald Trump and the parties in front of us, the Democrats and the Republicans. It's been really interesting. A lot of I told you so's, a lot of like know-it-alls. It's been interesting.
Ooh, know-it-alls. So of these know-it-alls, which I've never been accused of being, of these know-it-alls.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's never been me. I don't know what people... Of these know-it-alls, is there anything that's being said that you vehemently disagree with?
No, not at all,
Ooh.
actually. I actually don't disagree with the discourse. I'm just wondering, where was this before? I have thoughts as to why you wouldn't want to do this. But there's just a lot of patting on the backs with the I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of that.
A lot of internal fighting. It seems as if the loss has illuminated the fact that there wasn't a lot of party unity at the base of the party. Right. It seems that it was factioned off a little bit. There was some Game of Thrones. It's going to make for a good HBO original movie, Max original movie in the future. There was some Game of Thrones shit going on there, but we're not talking about that today because it's about the patient. Okay?
Well,
it's about the patient.
It's about the deceased.
It's about the deceased. And I will say this, you guys. This iteration of the Democratic Party is dead. If the party is to move on and reclaim power in American politics, which they're not totally without power, okay? Let's not overstate things. But if the party is to rise to the top of the American political power structure again, it has to be new. It has to be different. This version of the Democrats and the way that they were doing things, it is dead. Okay?
Doom, doom.
Doom, doom. Let's get into it right now. Time of death. Rachel, what do you think? Because two detectives, right? Or maybe I'm not a detective. You're the detective. I'm the coroner. Okay? That's why I got this jacket on. For you guys who don't know, I got lab coats. I got lab coats. I got a lab coat for me. I got a lab coat for Rachel.
But we're not in person today.
We're not in person, so I couldn't give Rachel her lab coat. Rachel's the detective. I'm the coroner. What to you, when you saw this on scene, Detective Lindsay, what was the cause of death to you? Time of death, should I say. What was the time of death to you?
I'm going to estimate here because this is typically what we do. I wasn't there when the crime was committed, but I'm going to give an estimate of the time of death. Based on my determination, the time of death was November 6th, around, I'm going to do West Coast time because we're on West Coast. November 6th, between midnight and 2 a.m. You? Do you not agree with my determination?
I must say something as the coroner. I concur. I do not concur, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Just gentle pushback. I think the time of death was April 25th, 2023.
2023?
2023.
Okay,
that was the,
I'm going to disagree with you, but go ahead.
Time of death. By the time we got to Tuesday, the patient was actually a zombie. It was a zombie that got there. The time of death was April 25th, 2023. Do you know what happened on that day?
Is that the day that Biden declared that he was running for office again?
Bingo. You are the greatest detective in the HLPD. Okay? This whole episode is propaganda. But yes, the moment that Joe Biden declared that he was running for president, the party was actually dead. This iteration of the Democratic Party was dead, and I'll tell you why. Number one, there is a bench of Democrats that could be compelling national political figures. There is a bench, and a very talented bench. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Gretchen Whitmer, Michigan. Gavin Newsom, California. Wes Moore, Maryland. Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania. Right? And then there are people even besides that. Now, if Joe Biden would have been the transitional president that he said he was going to be, then he would have made a determination in 22 or whatever that he wasn't going to run, which would have given the Democrats the opportunity to do something that they didn't do, which was run the strongest candidate. That's not saying that Kamala Harris wasn't the strongest candidate. She was the strongest candidate, perhaps, but not with the strongest campaign because they had to put it together so late in the game. The moment that Joe Biden did that, to me, the Democrats, this party, the way that it looked, they were probably DOA, dead on arrival. And the rest of the people around that told us that they were in a position of strength for doing that actually owe the American people an apology, in my opinion.
So I'm going to give a little pushback. The reason I do not agree, we needed to see, with the results of election comes a lot of clarity. And we're no longer looking at the polls. We're looking at how the people voted. We actually know what happened. So it's hard to make a determination on what was truly important to the American people without seeing how they voted. If Joe Biden had not decided to really stay true to his word and was a one-term president, whoever the party would have positioned would have been a stronger candidate, but would the campaign have been as strong? Would the issues that they were running on, would their message have still resonated with the people is hard to determine. As strong as those candidates are that you mentioned, I can't say that they would have been able to speak to the American people and identify what the majority of this country wanted like the Republican Party was able to do. I don't think their messaging would have changed. The messenger might have been more appealing, might have been someone that people, you couldn't talk about their identity. You couldn't talk about their age. You couldn't talk about things of that nature. But I don't think it would have fixed the issues within the Democratic Party. Yeah, there wouldn't have been infighting as to who should be the one leading the party. But the issues that the people voted on, it's still something that the party didn't address. And we'll get into the cause of death. But I don't think that because of what I believe the cause of death to be, I do not think that the time of death was back on April 25th, 2023.
I'm sorry, as the lab coat wearing technician here, as the coroner here, I have to remind you of a couple of things here, Rachel. I have to remind you that Joe Biden is an unpopular president, whether he should or should not be. Joe Biden is an unpopular president, and polling that we had consistently said that Americans would rather somebody other than Joe Biden and Donald Trump run for president. Joe Biden was never a strong candidate for re-election, ever. They made it seem like he was a strong candidate. They made it seem like he was the strongest candidate, but he was never a strong candidate for re-election. And there were metrics that told us that consistently throughout his candidacy until he got up on that stage and it became patently obvious that Americans weren't going to vote for that. His age was a factor. His ability to articulate himself was a factor. All of these things. And when you brought these things up, you were called ableist because he had a stutter. You were called ageist because he was old. All of these things were said. And the reality was he was never a candidate that people were going to get behind. If the Democrats were going to win, it was going to have to be with somebody else. And by the time they made the switch, it was too late.
We disagree, but you just gave me another reason to add to the cause of death. There's a litany of reasons, but you just gave me another thing to add.
Let's move on. Cause of death. Detective Lindsay. What is the cause of the demise of this party? What's the cause of their demise, Detective Lindsay?
There are many reasons, and I will leave it to you, coroner, to determine the ultimate reason. But there are several things that led to the cause of death, but you get to name exactly what it is. I'll give it to you.
Wow. Okay.
One, based off what you just said before, the polls. Okay? The polls were part of the cause of death. People relied too heavily on them. We had people on our show who told us that the polls didn't matter, yet in their explanation, they relied on the polls. It's just a fact. We all do. Like, you can't help but ignore them. There were certain statistics and polls that people relied on that led them to ignore maybe what the heart of the issue was and to rely on what really wasn't the issue, the polls. Second, the IPOC community, taking us out. The IPOC.
Oh my God.
The indigenous people of color. We out of there. Not the black. It's the IPOCs.
Whoa, the iPod. What is that I'm talking about? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. The statistics, I'm going back to the polls. The statistics, because I can say this now because we have the results that have come out, show that the indigenous people heavily voted for Donald Trump. Latinos came out in record numbers, set records voting for Donald Trump. The Arab community came together to vote for Donald Trump. So the IPOC community is part of the cause of death. Gen Z white men. There was a whole thing of people on social media with Gen Z where the Republicans, MAGA, Trump were really able to speak and empower a group of white young men. The working class. We can get into it later. Celebrities. And then I'm not giving details. And the last one, the Democrats. Part of their own cause of death.
Wow.
So there's several things.
So you're at the crime scene, you got your gloves on, you're poking through stuff, you're looking at it, and you're seeing all of these different things. So I have two things that I'm leaning towards here, Detective. Erosion and contagion. These are the two things, erosion and contagion. Okay, so the Democrats have what they've cultivated as to being this multi-cultural, just very diverse base. And that base is precarious in holding together. It's difficult, it's tough, it's a precarious thing to hold that base together, particularly in the age of misinformation. Because what the internet does is it takes things that are gigantic and makes them small. It used to be that in order for an idea to take hold, you had to find this critical mass of people that would make that idea palatable in the larger culture. It had to be a big enough deal for people to talk about it. That's gone out the window now. If you can find 500,000 people to believe your crazy bullshit, you mean something. Because those people will then buoy whatever it is that you're saying and make you important. So that means that every single person that has any type of a following is deemed important because they have a following, no matter what they say. It's very difficult to beat that. When you talk about people now, and when you talk to people now about different things and you ask them like what's going on, how things are, what's the deal, they'll say, well, you can't really say it's bullshit. This many people believe it. But the internet is such a gigantic place that so many people believe so many things that are bullshit. So you saying something just because it's true just doesn't work anymore. It matters the way that you say it. And that type of contagion has taken hold with some of the biggest voices in all of media. The Gen Zers who we thought were by far the most woke, it turns out that they're the most captured. They're the ones that lean on the Rogans and the Jake Pauls and all of these people the most. They're the most captured. Got to recapture them some kind of way. Don't know how, but got to recapture them. That type of intellectual contagion is a gigantic deal. And you probably could have, like, just through common sense, told people that that was a thing 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, but you didn't realize how much of a thing it was until the rubber met the road and there was actually an election where it mattered. Okay. Another thing is erosion. Erosion is the biggest thing. The erosion of that entire coalition is the biggest deal. Okay. There's a lot of things that we're as we have this discussion, we're trying to make sure that we don't fall into any tropes. Like the trope that Black men actually came out for Kamala Harris, right? That the Black support in the Republican Party is an illusion. It's not. It's not an illusion. If you look at swing states, then you see a couple of things. Number one, Black support for the Republicans is up. It's up. Black male support is up. It's up. In the swing states, nationally, maybe not, but in the swing states where the election was decided, you looked at places like Wisconsin where Trump was able to double his support amongst Black men. Now, not to a degree to where it's like 40% of Black men support support the Republicans. But it was significantly more than before. And in a race that's on the margin, all those stuff matters, right? All that stuff kind of matters. If we look at the Latino vote, which has been much ballyhooed, we put all the Latinos together. This is not fair to the Latinos. Okay? 38.5 million Mexican Americans, 5.5 million Puerto Ricans, 2.6 million Cuban Americans in the mainland United States. When you look at the margins here, Mexican Americans voted for Harris at 62%. Puerto Ricans voted for Harris at 59%. Cuban beat. Voted for Trump, 56%. Other Central Americans voted for Harris, 56%. Voted for South Americans voted for Harris, 56%. And then others that are considered to be Latinos went 66% for Harris and 33% for Trump. So when you look at the entire thing, there was a moving of it, but we have to be very specific now about grouping groups together, about saying Latinos, about saying even Blacks. When we're talking about it, we need to get granular on how we're describing these different groups of people so that we will understand how to tailor the messaging to them. Because all Black ain't the same, all Latino ain't the same, all woman ain't the same. And we've been reaching into large bags for all of those people, the left has, when really you have to get a little bit more intimate with the way that you're talking. And that's going to take a little bit more information, a little bit less shaming, and probably a little bit more conversation.
Can I just say something to speak to that specifically? You're right. Not everybody who identifies as Latino is the same. And that's evident in the voting. And even if you break down some of this, you can see why certain percentages voted more for Trump or more for Harris. But the Democrats tend to do that. Like what you're asking of, I'm assuming you're talking to the Democrats because that's what we're doing here. That is something that is the left. That's something that is extremely hard to do, to speak to every single group within the Latino community, just like it would be hard to speak to every single particular type of Black person. And it's something that the other side doesn't do, and specifically didn't have to do in this election, because people chose themselves or the economy over identity. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily right. I'm just saying that I don't think that I think that maybe what you're saying is what we should aim for. I just don't know if that's possible to do, to be able to effectively speak to every single group within a bigger group. And that will help the party figure things out. I just don't think that that's the answer.
Okay. So here's the thing. There's an idea that people chose the economy over identity, right? That they chose themselves and the economy over identity. They really didn't, though. And the reason why I say that is because even if they think they were choosing the economy, they actually weren't. Because their belief that they were choosing the economy wasn't based in any actual data. Like the actual data says that the tariffs have all types of poor economic outcomes. Actual data says that it's going to cost $88 billion per 1 million people that you deport. Actual data says a lot of things that to me would make someone go, even if we are in a situation where things are a little inflationary or the economy is growing at a rate that's a little bit slower, choosing someone who has policies that add so much money to the deficit, that put in peril Social Security, that in and of themselves have the potential to be inflationary when you talk about tariffs. And we talk, even Elon Musk was on tape saying that Trump's policies, at least initially, are going to cause a great deal of consternation to the American middle class. That's on tape. it's on tape, it's out there, nobody cared. So the problem, the problem is, it's not that these people made, in my opinion, an informed choice based upon what was real. They made an ill-informed choice based upon what they believed. And that to me signals, but that signals a messaging issue, Rachel.
Correct. I agree with you.
Right. And so then if that's the case, then first of all, I don't think it's that difficult to if the Democrats have this broad, or this diverse a power structure, then have your Puerto Ricans talk to Puerto Rican people, have your Cubans talk to Cuban people, have your Black Southern Americans talk to Black Southern Americans, have your Black boule elitists from these Ivy League people talk to the money people, actually put some effort into who's speaking to who so that the cultural translation is consistent. Because the reality is you might have a bunch of people from South Baton Rouge who look at an Ivy League educated Black Democrat from the Northeast and go, that's not me. So the question would be is, why are you leaving it up to that person to talk to them, right? Even if they are at the top of your ticket. And by the way, I'm not saying that the Democrats don't do this, but what I'm saying is that because there's so much diversity in their constituency, in their base, then there needs to be a little bit more diversity in the way that they go out and do this stuff. And we're the good guys part of it is just not going to work anymore. Because in the internet age, it's too hard to tell the good guys from the bad guys.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I don't know if it necessarily answers with if you need people who look like people or understand people or that to speak to a certain group of people to be effective, then why were the Republicans so effective with people who didn't look like them? Like, I think whether it's they voted for the wrong person who would help them or not, the truth is their perception was reality. They believed that they were voting in the best interest to help themselves better, to have a better economy. I read the statistic about the plus 15 with people who were not, who don't pay attention to the news outlets. So where they're getting their information, I don't know. But the thought is that they believed that they were bettering their lives. They were voting for somebody who would better their lives and their economy. I agree with you and I was saying cause of death when you were asking me, but I should probably deem that as contributing factors to the cause of death. And then, we can use erosion and the other thing that you said. But I believe a contributing factor to the cause of death is the Democrats, and it is their messaging. I still believe that people voted for themselves in the economy over voting for some of the issues that the Democrats were pushing forward as primary issues that they thought that the American public would buy into. Abortion and democracy. People were voting for themselves and for the economy. And I think that the Democrats lost the vision in that and never really connected with people. So I guess my whole thing, what I'm saying is, and I lost a little of this because I know our signal messed up, is that it wasn't an idea that they were voting for economy over identity. That is what they were voting for, even if they got it wrong. The contributing factor. Go ahead.
You're missing me, though. I'm not saying that they didn't vote for the economy. I'm saying that if they voted for the economy, it wasn't a smart vote. They voted for a perception rather than a reality, in my opinion. And that's something that you can talk about. But and whether or not Trump is going to be better for the economy or whatever, however many different business journals, Wharton schools that need to tell you about what's going to happen to the middle class of the country under four more years of the Trump presidency. I think this is actually the crux of the conversation. Sure, it's about what I'm saying is, I get what people think they voted for. Now, the issues on the left that they try to make into their entire message in terms of abortion and democracy, you're right. Those things didn't resonate as much as they should have, as for talk about the economy. And even, Rachel, to be honest with you, non-issues, culture war issues. The most significant ad that they ran was the they-them ad, right? The they-them ad
Yeah.
We're talking about percentages that people were moving. There's like something that like they polled men, and Donnie find this, they polled men or people in Wisconsin or different swing states, and they would say the ad was moving people around at like 2% or something like that. Like not 2% actual voting numbers, but when they looked at the actual impact that the ad had, it was a very impactful ad. And those things are very simple. Like, so.
Because they didn't combat it.
Right. They didn't combat it. I don't even know how they would have, right? I don't even know how they would have combated it. They made the decision not to combat it. They probably should have combated it in some way. But when I'm not necessarily saying that the perception of the economy is not what people voted on. Certainly it was. What I'm saying is they didn't vote on any truths about the economy. They voted on their feeling of economic angst, which is a very real feeling, right? And then, to me, what is an imaginary remedy to that economic angst, which is giving tax cuts to the rich and then believing that that money will filter down, right? So if there is a truth, an intellectual truth or an actual real truth to impart upon those people to gain their votes and their support, the Democrats weren't able to do it. And one reason why they weren't able to do it, in my opinion, is because they weren't able to get granular enough in the way that they message to people. They weren't able to touch people a little bit. In some kind of way, this version of the Democratic Party is removed. There's too much space between them and the average voting American. And that is clear. For whatever reason that is clear. How do you remedy that? Is my situation. And you do that to me by breaking your coalition apart a little bit in the messaging and not thinking that you can put all of these different people, the trans people, the Black guy from South Carolina, the white woman from outside of Virginia in the suburbs, the Ivy League educated person, the Jewish American, that you can put all of these people into one trough and then message to them in the exact same way. They have different wants, different needs, and you got to talk to them in some different ways. That's all I'm really trying to say.
So do you think that worked for the Republicans because the Democrats just didn't do it at all?
It works for the Republicans because their message is so simple. Their message is their message is a very simple, but their message is a simple message also because their electorate is a lot more homogenous. Their electorate is simply, it's a lot of people who live one way and a lot of people who believe in that way of living.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I get that part. What I'm saying is I am gonna group statistically. You had more Latinos as a whole vote for President Donald Trump. Same with Native Americans.
MAGA, baby.
These people are not the same as the majority of the party. And my point my question is, they didn't change their message to specifically tailor to them. They just spoke about the economy. And my question is, do you think that if the Democrats did what you're saying, then it would have been able to combat them because the Republicans did not do that, yet the IPOC community came out in record numbers voting for them.
The Republicans,
and they didn't tailor their message specifically.
I know, but the Republicans their message is different though. Their message, they have less to do. Their message is different. Their message is, like, literally sometimes the message is, we don't want boys playing girl sports. And everybody goes, I get that. What else you got? Like, literally, the message is sometimes like that simple. We don't want boys playing girl sports. All right, I'm listening now. What else you got? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what else you have. They'll be like, oh, okay, you seem like a more common sense party. You seem like a more common sense party. It's easier for me to believe what you're saying because these truths that I believe in and I agree with are so unassailable that if you're common sense on that, you must be common sense on the way that the economy works. And what I'm saying
okay, go ahead.
What I'm saying is with the Democrats, number one, you have to get some people out. And number two, you have to talk about why your way works and why the other way doesn't work. And to me, that means that you have to send people out to talk to those people. that they're willing to hear from, because the message is a little bit more complicated.
Well, I think it wasn't even that their message was complicated. I just don't think that they focused on it. And it goes back to, I didn't list the reasons for the contributing factor to the cause of death and the way that the Democrats contributed to the cause of death. But when I go back to before November 5th, nothing we were really talking about was about the economy. Yes, Kamala Harris had a policy. Yes, they would talk about how the economy is better under Joe Biden. You know, he's improved things, but we always talked about the messaging and how it didn't resonate. I don't think that there's anything that the Democrats did to really focus on that. It was, as we were saying, reproductive rights and the democracy. You should be so scared of what a presidency looks like under Donald Trump that should run you to the polls rather than really speaking to what the people needed. I think, and I've seen this written out before, but I don't know if we really addressed it in this podcast, that one of the biggest mistakes, and she was in a rock and a hard place. I don't know if there was a way that she actually could have done this, but it is something that needed to be done. If the American people felt so strongly that that inflation is up, the economy is not getting better, and they felt hopeless under the current administration, Kamala Harris had to separate herself from the current administration. I remember you said on this podcast, the strongest messaging that the Republicans have is that they tie Kamala Harris to Joe Biden and the belief that his administration is not helping the American people. I don't know if the Republicans effectively did that, but that is exactly what the people felt. And Kamala Harris, again, I don't know if she could do that, but she didn't do that. And so if you couldn't separate her from the current economy and the way that people feel, then there was no way that any messaging that she did was going to be able to combat that. One, I don't think that they really did really push the economy forward, but her being tied to Joe Biden and his administration was the nail in the coffin. She never separated herself from it. She never spoke to it. She never really spoke to, I have a different policy. This is how you will feel from me, and it is different from how you feel right now under Joe Biden.
But what you're talking about is messaging now.
Yeah, no, I know.
Right. And so it's all messaging, because the reality is our economy is faring far better post-COVID than most other world economies. Our inflation is lower post-COVID than most other major world economies. Our bounce back in terms of job growth and things of that nature has been better post-COVID than most other world economies. The inflationary effects of the pandemic were felt worldwide, and it's a problem worldwide. And the United States has fared far better than a lot of the other competing nations in inflation post-COVID. Those are things that you have to create value for. The reason why I say that it's messaging is because she was asked straight away by Sunny Hostin what she would do differently in her administration than Joe Biden. And she said she can't think of anything that she would do differently. She should have thought of some stuff that she would do differently. And the reality is, even if it wasn't stuff that she would do differently, even if it wasn't a yes, but, it should have been a yes, and. Like, yes, Joe Biden is doing a great job, but I think we need to go further in this. Not that I would do something differently than Joe Biden in the next 4 years necessarily. I would go further in doing this. I'm going to ramp up efforts to do this. I'm going to take what we've been able to do, and now that we have a surer footing, I'm not telling the vice president how to talk. I'm just saying that the answer that she gave to so many people wasn't very sufficient, particularly when we've had a president that hasn't been able to speak to his own accomplishments in a charismatic way for the last 3.5 years. So you have someone that can't toot his own horn the best. You have a very real feeling that people are feeling. And you also have nonstop messaging coming from some of the biggest platforms in the world about what's wrong with your country. And the reality is that it's all about what you were. She should have been able to say, hey, we've created these. People just didn't listen to the things that were being said because they were like, okay, well, I don't feel great now. And being with her means I might not feel great a year from now. The question is, do you feel better now than you did in 2022? Do you feel better now than you did in 23 and 21? Did you feel better now coming into a situation post-COVID where we were all inside, the economy was growing very slowly, you couldn't even get, I could have ran on chicken tenders in this race. I'm serious. Do you want to hear how I could have ran on chicken tenders?
Please let us know.
So this is going to sound very stupid. There was a time when I would go to the movies. I would go to the AMC theater and I would go to the theater and it would say, the chicken tenders not available. And I'd be like, wait a minute. They only had the Impossible chicken tenders. That's all they had. The other chicken tenders were not available. The Possible chicken nuggets aren't that bad, as a matter of fact. They're not. You know, they're not there. They didn't have the real chicken tenders. And I keep asking, I'm like, yo, man, why is every place that I'm going, they running out of chicken tenders? They don't have the tenders that I like to eat. And they don't have chicken wings in different places and stuff like that. There was a supply chain issue, an actual real supply chain issue here in America because of dysfunction from everything that was happening that was stopping them from being able to stock the chicken tenders. That is dystopian. It's dystopian when you want to go to the movies and like get some chicken tenders to watch your movie with and they don't have them because the supply chains aren't working efficiently enough to deliver the fucking chicken tenders to the movie theater. If I'm sitting up there and if you're asking me to run, I'm saying, look, in 2022, let me tell you how bad things were. I used to go to the movies and I used to want a little creature comfort like chicken tenders. I used to want chicken tenders to watch the movie with. And you couldn't even buy any fucking chicken tenders. That's how bad the world, I understand how bad things got. We couldn't go outside. We couldn't be with our families. We couldn't go to work. And we couldn't eat chicken tenders. I want you to go to the movies now. A lot of these supply chain issues that we were dealing with, we figured them out. And we worked with governments and other places to figure them out. And we're coming back to some semblance of normalcy. And it's not just chicken tenders. It's all of these other things that are better now than they were. And this is why they're like that. But that's very simple to me. But that's not what they tried to do, really. They didn't really do that. And really, Joe Biden couldn't really make that case because I don't know if Joe Biden can chew the chicken tenders. Okay? So I'm just saying it's like
why are you taking shots at Joe? Why are you taking shots at Joe Biden?
This is Joe's fault.
Why are you taking shots at Joe Biden? And this is why you bring your own food to the movie theater so you don't have these problems.
Nah, I like the chicken tenders.
I bring a big purse and I bring a sandwich.
You one of them.
I am.
You one of them. I remember back when Woolworths was still a thing, when Woolworths was holding on. By the way, we let Woolworths slide for far too long in this country. Every single fucking sit-in in America took place at a Woolworths. Woolworths was the biggest one, and they had the soda fountain, but Woolworths was racist as fuck, man. Shout out to Woolworths for being racist. Every time you go to a Woolworths in the South, it's like, hey, this used to be the Woolworths, and this is where 6 niggas from black school A&T got pelted with eggs 1961. Every single one. Every Woolworths. Anyway. Yeah, you go to Woolworths, you get your whole stuff. I like the snacks at the movies. It's part of the experience. It tastes better when it comes from the movies. All right, we got to get back to the patient. I'm sorry.
Well, the patient is dead. We've determined the cause of death.
Last one. Predispositions. Do you have any predispositions that the patient had? You were talking about some predispositions before because... Go ahead.
I feel like that was our entire podcast last time, right? You can't... I know all these people are like... I've seen a lot of like, oh, everybody wants to focus, make this personal and talk about, the identity of Kamala Harris. Well, it's true. Like, you can't you can't discuss it without talking about sexism and racism. It's just a thing. Particularly, I've seen people use the example of the state of North Carolina, who elected a Democrat as their governor, I think an attorney general, and another office. But then the state overall voted for Trump. Well, I guarantee you that those people who won were not both Black and a woman. So you can't take, the sexism and racism out of this. So I think those were some of the predisposition, I guess, factors in regards to, the deceased.
So here's the thing about all of that when I'm looking at the deceased. I have anecdotal evidence for this. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I don't want to oversimplify it in terms of she's Black, she was a woman, people didn't vote for her. I don't want to say that.
No, but that's part of the, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead there. Detective, it's you.
No, I'm done. No.
So
go. I said it all last podcast.
So this is the interesting part to me. We are focusing on sometimes the people who didn't vote for her because she was Black and she was a woman. Right? But there's something else. I talked to somebody, having a long conversation with them yesterday about things that they weren't really that well versed in. Because we're going to talk maybe briefly about some decisions that Trump has already made that's going to affect you niggas. We're going to see if you niggas care. Okay. I was talking to someone and they said, I don't really vote. Like, as I was telling you, I don't really know politics. I don't really vote. I don't vote. It's like the one time I voted for Barack Obama. He got that one free vote. Black man running, I had to give him that vote. And I was like, well, then why didn't she get it? So forget about who actually didn't vote for her because she is Black and a woman. There should be better reasons to vote for a candidate. Shouldn't be all about identity. Should be about policy. Should be about record. All those things. But there are a group of people that ran out and voted for Barack Obama because he was Black that did not do the same thing with Kamala Harris. Now, it's an interesting conversation and not an open and shut conversation. Maybe those people realize that voting for a candidate specifically because they were Black doesn't really move the needle much in terms of what you get from that candidate. Maybe they were burned by President Obama. That's an interesting conversation to have. Maybe those people are better or more, they think themselves more better or more politically with it now after they voted for a candidate based off identity and it didn't move anything. Or maybe woman means more than Black. Or maybe Black woman means the most. Maybe there's a difference. And just like we should be willing to say, hey, maybe people realize that voting for someone specifically based on identity didn't really do much for them for President Obama, which I think President Obama was a decent president. It was a good president, a really good president. Just like we can have that conversation, maybe those people learned that wasn't the thing. We should also be able to have the conversation about whether or not they just don't feel the same way about a Black woman leading them than a Black man. We should be able to have both conversations. Right. And both conversations are important. Because I asked that question, I was like, well, if he got it because he was Black and you came out to be a part of that, did you not want to be the same type of participant in the first Black woman being elected to the presidency? Does that history mean less to you than the history in 08? I'm not saying that you should vote because of that, but I'm saying if you did vote because of that, and you didn't vote that way now,
Yep.
All right. So that's the predisposition, Black women, whole thing.
Yep.
We don't know.
Yep.
Oh, summary and reflection on the patient here. This patient's gone.
Love this. Love this.
I do
so
love
much.
it. I love it. Summary reflection on the patient here. The patient's gone. Things will change. What does the left do? There's going to be a lot of money dumped into a lot of places. There's going to be a lot of talk about a lot of different stuff. What does the left do? Or do they say, fuck it, we ball, cede the country to them, have as much fun, and just watch it as the monuments burn down? What do we do? Just have a drink while the empire falls.
I do think there is some hope where the I told you so's are going to want to come out. And anytime, for example, some of the things that, Trump is doing this weird thing where he's standing in front of whatever the background is and giving out these orders and talking about what he's going to do. I think some people relish in that and are like, well, we told you, this is what you voted for. This is what you're going to get, and hope that it's so bad that people come running back to them. But the problem with that is if you just sit and wait for things to implode with the hope that people come running back to you, what are you really fixing? And are you really addressing the needs of the people? Somebody is going to have to step up in leadership within the party. And that leader is going to have to try to bring this party together because the party is very split. We've talked about it before on this podcast. The party's split. You've already got infighting. It's not even infighting, publicly fighting, calling out. You've got, the independents or the left calling out Democrats for, not listening to the people, accusing them of ignoring the working class. I don't know if you saw this, AOC, and shout out to one of our thought warriors. Sorry, I don't have her name pulled up, who sent me an article about how AOC asked her constituents who voted for her to say why they voted for her and for Donald Trump. That's the kind of pulse that we need. You voted for me, but then why did you also vote for this person who's so anti what I represent? There needs to be listening. There needs to be what you pointed to at the beginning, dissecting the party and addressing particular cultures and ethnicities, within the party. There's got to be some of that. You got to go back, I think, to the basic boots on the ground and understand what it is, actually, who your party is and what it is that they want. Or not even just your party, what the people want, and try to bring them back to the values of whatever it is that your party represents. Until you do that, and I think you have to humble yourself to do that. I think there's a lot of elitism that exists within both parties. And I think to get back, people are in 2024 are sick of that. And they want to feel that you feel them. They want to feel that you understand them and that you're about them. And if not, they're not fucking with you, period. So whatever you have to do to bring yourself down to the people and understand what they need, that's the only way this is going to work. And maybe that's a dismantling of the party. Now, you got to get down with us.
Okay. Well, there's a couple of things that have to happen here. Number one, I would say this. Well said. Number one, you don't have to pretend like certain things aren't true. I had a back and forth on Twitter when someone was saying that Americans are sick of being called racist, and the reason why the Democrats continue to lose, or they haven't continued to lose. The reason why the Democrats got their asses kicked the last week was because Americans are sick of being called racist and all that stuff. If I have to live in an America where I ignore the racial realities and the racial history of the country to make you guys feel okay, you can have it. I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm not doing it now. I'll never do it. Okay. I'm not doing it now. I'm never doing it. I'm not saying that everybody across the world has to. I'm not saying that the people that are running have to get mired into all of this. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying I'm not doing that. That's not for me. Okay. Number one. Number two, I will say this though. There is a part of the way that we have this conversation that I think needs to change. They seem stronger than us because they seem less encumbered by every single problem in the world. Right?
That's a great point.
They seem like they have their eyes on the prize has a very simple goal. We police our language so much. We police our interactions so much. We police our associations so much. There is a purity test that clearly doesn't work. You guys, I've been trying to say this to you. You think that I'm bullshitting you. There's a purity test that clearly doesn't work. It's clearly turning Americans off, right? It's clearly turning people off for people to say, hey, you're trash, you're this, you're that, you're this. I'm not saying that you guys, that it's not coming from the right place. Of course, you want to represent the best of what you think a good society looks like. Of course, you want to have a friend group that is curated and meticulously choreographed in what they say and do. You don't want to be with the bad people. You don't want to be with the trash people. You don't want to be with the people that represent all of the bad ideas. The reality is, if in fact only one side is talking and talking loudly, then you are going to lose. If you're too good for the conversation, then you're not in it. That's just the way that it works. If you're too good for the conversation, if you're too pure for the conversation, if you're too admirable, driven as the pure as the driven snow, if you're too good for the discussion and for the conversation, you're not in it. They're having it amongst themselves. And there's capture there. There's capture there that exists. And you're not going to mean girl your way out of racism, discrimination, and inequity. You're not. Grow the fuck up. Like, grow up. Like, you're not going to do it. You're silencing the conversation to be had. It's still being had, only you're not there. It's not gonna work. So, like, let's everybody breathe. We don't have to invite everybody to our parties. We don't have to be friends with everyone. We don't have to do all of that stuff. I'm not saying all of that. But I am saying, in a conversation about American values and American ideals and what works and what doesn't work, they have to see that you're willing to fight. They have to see that you're willing to be in the middle of it. And I just think that we got away from that. We got away from it. So we'll see what happens now. But I tell you what, LA County Coroner, Van Lathan. Oof, I like this laptop.
Detective Rachel Lindsay signing out.
Yeah, well,
until the next case.
Well, until the next case, we have more podcasts to do. But yeah, we.
Well, I meant signing out of the case, Van.
I know. I mean, detective. By the way, you bring me the cases. Okay, you are the.
Okay, case closed.
Thank you. You declare case closed, and I'm a coroner, so I'm a weirdo because I think coroners are like, I don't know.
Like pathologist. Yeah, forensic pathologist.
Am I a coroner though? Because the coroner is like, am I the coroner?
You want to be a forensic pathologist.
Or who's the guy in the morgue
cutting?
that looks over the people?
Well, the guy who does the autopsy is a pathologist.
That's a pathologist?
He's a forensic pathologist.
That's me.
Or a pathologist, yeah.
Real quick. Trump's plans. He's President-elect Trump. It looks like Stephen Miller will serve as White House Deputy Chief of Staff. Wow. Nikki Haley, Mike Pompeo, you got fucked. Hope it was worth it, Nikki. Elise Stefanik is going to be his pick for U.S. ambassador. Yikes. Now, let me say something about that, guys. A lot of people who probably voted because they were upset about what happened and what is happening, the genocide in Palestine. A lot of people were upset about that. They voted, hey, not quarreling with you, to punish the Democrats in different places because of that. I'm not saying that it was en masse. I'm saying that a lot of people didn't vote or couldn't vote. I get it. Stefanik has been one of Israel's number one defenders and attackers in Congress. She is the one who was going dead at the presidents of the universities.
Yeah, that's when she came on my radar.
That's when she came on the radar. Staunch.
Blame January 6th on Nancy Pelosi.
Blame on Nancy Pelosi. She's going to go to represent the United States to the UN.
We should start a segment where we, like, as Trump is rolling out these videos on things he plans to do, and as we're seeing him nominated, we should have like Trump Watch or Trump something, where we let you guys know, because I think a lot of times, and maybe not our listeners necessarily, but maybe this is something you, from this segment, you can take and give it to some of the other people who aren't necessarily paying attention. But I think it is important in our responsibility to pay attention to who he's appointing, who they are, what they stood for during the Biden administration, like around the January 6th time, when Trump was in office. And then I think we also need to roll out some of the things that he's talking about implementing or that he actually does. We need to do Trump Watch because it's important that you guys pay attention as your rights potentially and probably will diminish.
Trump has also, according to the New York Times, the Trump administration has vowed to roll back some of the environmental protections for underserved communities that Joe Biden had established by executive order. Just want you guys to listen to this really quickly. Trump won on Tuesday. By Thursday, it was reported by the New York Times that a Biden executive order that established both clean energy incentives in terms of jobs and stuff for underserved or Black communities, basically, and 40% of the thrust and I'll say this again, Donnie. Take this again. I'm saying it much simpler. Joe Biden had created an executive order. The executive order was to have environmental justice. Environmental justice means this, easily. Clean water, clean air, taking the lead out of stuff for Black kids, underserved people. That's what it means, basically. Environmental justice. Environmental justice means that Black kids get clean stuff. Literally the same week that Donald Trump won, he said it will probably be scrapped. They're scrapping it. They're scrapping it. Too woke. Don't listen. This is not too woke. It's part of a woke agenda. Clean water for Black kids. Clean air for Black kids. To pay attention to that, too woke. Doesn't help the economy. That's too woke. They're getting rid of that. Now, how the fuck you gonna be Black? I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, man. How the fuck you gonna be Black and tell me you got a problem with Black kids having clean air and water? Or there being a special attention paid upon Black children for clean air and water because they live in places where their environments are all fucked up. Why would you undo that?
It's not about race, though. It's not about that.
Michelle Beadle said the N-word.
Wait, he also announced Tom, is it Homan or Homan?
Homan?
Will join his administration to oversee the border control. He will be the border czar.
Yeah, I saw him.
Former acting head of ICE.
Yeah, he's mean. We'll see what happens. Oh, by the way, when when they do all these mass deportations that they've said that they're going to do in the first 100 days, they're going to send the police into your neighborhoods. They don't even have it staffed enough to where they would be able to have enough federal agents to go in there and do this. They're going to have to bring the police. The police are going to have to do some of this stuff. The police are going to come into your neighborhoods. And good luck with the cops knowing whether or not you're a Black American here. Good luck if you are a Black Latino walking around and the cops stop you. You want to live La Vida MAGA? Let's see if it works. Okay.
I just want to say this man is behind the controversial family separation policy. 5,500 children of immigrants were separated from their parents at the border. This is 2018 under the zero tolerance policy. And as of April of this year, 1,400 children are without confirmed reunification.
He says it doesn't matter anymore because he said there's a way to get by deporting children and separating families. Did you hear what he said?
Tom?
Yeah.
This guy?
Yeah, Tom.
What did he say?
He said just deport the whole family.
Oh, no. Okay.
That's what he said.
Let's just cut.
He said just deport the whole family. Deport the whole family. Mass deportation is going to be right now.
Learn from the first administration, fixing it in the second administration. That's an example of it. Oh, that didn't work this time? Great. This is what we're going to do this time. Got it.
All right. Real quick, non-politics. Donnie laughed, I think, earlier when I said this. Michelle Beadle said the N-word. This is funny to me. Okay.
Did she say, let's let people decide.
Let's let people decide whether or not Michelle Beadle said the N-word.
Michael Porter Jr. recently said, I don't like this, that if the Nuggets don't win this,
that was a good one.
Don't try to get me on that. They might have to break up the team. Lou, are you buying that this is the last dance for the Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, I'm buying it.
Nuggets.
I'm buying it. Beadle, you're going to be in trouble today.
That's not fair. It's not even a thing. It's not even a word.
Sounded like it.
You would love that.
Listen, anyways.
Rachel, N-word or not, what's the verdict?
I believe she said niggets. Niggets. So I listened to it a lot. She said it so fast, it could go either way. But then when she's like, that's not even a word, I was like, okay, I think she said niggets. It was a really good, I thought she handled it well and recovered it well. I laughed more at Lou's response to it when he was like, you're going to be in trouble today. This isn't one of those situations where I'm just going to harp on. I mean, a lot of people were like, she should be fired. You know, she should.
No, it's not a big deal.
It's not that big of a deal. I don't think that there was any ill intention. I'm not going to be one of those people. I hate to when people are like, well, that just rolled off her tongue easily. I mean, it might. She might say it. We don't know.
This is what I'm saying.
But in this moment, I'm not going to call for her firing or saying
No. What? No.
But a lot of people were.
I know. I seen it. Lou Will is there. Lou Will is doing the whole thing. And first of all, shout out to Lou Will. Lou Will is doing such a great job in all of his different media incarnations right now. Lou Will is doing a great job. Shout out to Lou Will. I'll say this. I often, when I'm around white people, I try to guess their number. Like I try to guess based upon, we talked about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I try to guess based upon their life experience, their love for hip hop, their overall aura, how many times they've said the N-word. We've talked about this. Mm-hmm. First of all, if you ask a white person how many times they've said the N-word in life, if they say a number under 200, it's a minimum 1,000 that they've said it. Okay, because there's no reason to lie.
Also based off of nothing. It's just Van's own
based
thing.
Off of nothing. It's based off of something.
If it's under 200, that means they said it over 1,000 times.
If you meet a white person and you go, it's such a fun question to ask, and you go, how many times have you said the N-word in your entire life? And they go, if they say, I've never even said it, they're in the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, straight up.
Yeah, you've all said
If they say I've never said it,
in your head or
if they say I've never said it, if they say I've never said it, they're the Grand Dragon of the Bakersfield chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, number one, you're lying. Okay, all right. Why is it a dragon? They got wizards and dragons. Is the Ku Klux Klan trying to get into?
I've never heard of
Lord
dragon.
of the
I
Rings?
thought it was wizard. I didn't know there was
they got dragons.
I didn't know there was a Grand Dragon. Look at this.
The Ku Klux Klan has wizards. They got dragons. Do they have ogres in the Klan? They definitely got dragons. You see it? They got dragons. You just looked it up. There's dragons.
Well, you can KKK Grand Dragons. It lists the names. It lists them under Wikipedia.
Roll off some of the names of the Grand Dragons of the KKK.
Leonard William Armstrong was a Grand Dragon of the White Knights of the Tennessee KKK. Louis Bean.
Okay, who
Don
else?
Black. Walter Bossert. Daniel
Don
Carver.
Black. Don Black is a famous dragon.
Yeah. It says in parentheses. Don Black, white supremacist. David Duke.
Don Black is a famous dragon. David Duke, dragon.
Yep. Nathan Bedford Forrest II. Yeah.
You know who's named after him, right?
Named after him?
Yeah.
I know. Wait, who was named after Nathan Bedford? I know who Nathan Bedford is. Nathan Bedford Forrest. Who was named after him?
Oh, I bet Donnie knows. Donnie, who was named after Nathan Bedford Forrest?
Forrest Gump from Greenbow, Alabama.
Not a movie question.
Yep. Forrest Gump, named after Nathan Bedford Forrest.
Who wrote Forrest Gump?
David Duke.
Okay, I was going to say, whatever name you gave me, their name was listed on here too, is what I was going to say. So thank you for bringing that full circle. Edmund Pettus. Edmund Pettus. Grand Dragon. A Grand Dragon.
Wow. Grand Dragon.
Nigga. I was going to say they've got Grand Dragons. They've got Grand Titans. Grand Giants. They've got goblins.
What's the hierarchy?
Hey, bro.
I need a chart. I need a chart.
I'm sorry. I gotta say something, bro.
Somebody from the KKK. We gotta
somebody. We gotta bring somebody from the KKK on, bro. I gotta say something, bro. Y'all not gonna like this, man. Bro, these niggas' dicks so little, bro. Bro, these niggas' dicks are so little, dog. Like they call me a titan, a dragon. Like these guys are whatever. Okay, that's fine. KKK tangent. I'm sorry.
So Grand Dragon is an old name, and it later became Grand Wizard.
Also, wizard, dragon led to wizard. Okay, allegedly. All right. All I'm saying is this: the N-word number is a fun game to play with your white friends. You look it up. Hey, look, it's a good way to make them uncomfortable too. It's very funny. How many times have you said the N-word in your life? And then you look at them, and sometimes you get little things that tell you people have a healthy number, whether it's hip hop or whatever.
A healthy number.
Whether it's hip hop or whatever, But this is not that big of a deal.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not that big of a deal. It's like it's funny. You slip up. Whatever. It'd have been fun. It would have been fucked up if she'd have been saying it to Lou Will. If she'd have fucked up that way, it would have been. Yeah. But it's not that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal. Plus, I feel like we have bigger things to be upset about right now. Robert Griffin III, real quick. Rachel, I want to know what you think about this.
Okay.
He went viral, responded to a tweet asking him which black women he supported. They had a picture of his 4 daughters up there. And then he responded to it with a video, one of those little videos where you have the picture and then you put your face in the video. And he was talking about people who were questioning the race of his 4 black daughters.
I just had a tweet go intergalactical because I said my 4 daughters are black. What's wrong with that? Nothing. But let's talk about it. This whole thing started on November 6th when I tweeted, "Black men do support black women. Stop tearing down and blaming black men for everything under the sun when it comes to black women." Although a lot of people agreed with me, this made a lot of other people very, very upset. There were a lot of, "What do you mean by that?" With the number one thing being said was, "You can't say that, sir, because you married a white girl." As if marrying someone outside your race means you can't drop facts. Like, is marrying someone outside your race a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. Love knows no colors, and that's what we should be preaching instead of divisiveness. So what are those facts? It is a universally well-known fact that black men love their mamas. Last time I checked, a black mama is a black woman, right? On a serious note, studies have shown that black fathers are more involved in their kids' lives than any other racial group. You know that prevailing myth that black fathers are absent all the time is false. Now, what is true is that only 36%.
Yeah.
Why is he talking
not.
like that?
Because
Why is he talking like that? This is the thing about RG3. Like, what he's saying in this video, first of all, you should not be saying that his daughters are not black.
Correct.
You shouldn't.
Correct.
Those are black ladies that he's raising. They're black women.
And you should be applauding the fact that he is identifying them as black and not trying to other them and say what they aren't, because we see that a lot of times too. He's like, these are black women. And I appreciate in this video as well. I don't always, he does a lot. Okay, he's a lot. And he does a lot of corny behavior. But in this, I agree with everything that he has to say. And the fact that he's talking about how he is taking up for black women. This is what black women ask of. They ask for black men to stand up and take up for them. Throughout this video, he's doing that. And of course, he is upset that in return, not all, but some black women, enough to make noise, enough to be loud enough, are telling him that his children aren't black enough. That's an issue. And the reason I'm saying this, you just bucked your eyes, is because a lot of times people say that I don't call out black women for things. These black women are wrong. His daughters are black. And they should be ashamed of themselves for a black man who's actually standing up. You got to look past the fact he got a white wife. You got to look past the fact that he constantly tries to force his white wife on us. And wait, he does. The fact that he tries to force his white wife on us and constantly show us things that are similar to what black women have. Okay, we got to look past that. The fact is, he's a black man taking up for black women and recognizing his daughters as black. What more could you ask for in that situation? And here you go tearing him down. We can't do that, black women. We can't do that.
Okay. Rach, first of all, well said. I'll say this. I said this before. If you're a black man married to a white woman out there, I just want you to know the way they talk about your wife when you're not there. They don't say wife. I said this on a live stream. Rachel just did it. They don't say wife. Like, my mom and them would be in the Piggly Wiggly. They would be in the store and be like, yeah, I saw James in Piggly Wiggly with his white wife.
We do say that. We really do.
When they describing your wife, I'm just letting y'all know, when they describing your wife, I'm not saying it's right, but especially in the South, when they describing your wife, yeah, I saw him in the bank. He was up there with his white wife.
I don't know why we do that. I guess it's a Southern thing. I didn't even notice I did. I didn't even notice I did that. I didn't even notice I said that. It's just.
I don't know why. But yeah. We went up there for the PTA. Did you? Yeah. You know what I saw up there? I saw Carlos up there. Yeah. He was up there with his white wife. I'd be like, why? Why is he? Why with his white wife? I was at a table in Houston a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about Colin Allred. And it came up. It was like, yeah, you know, he'd be out there with his white wife. I'm like, why? She gotta be white. Why? This is white.
But she is, isn't she? She is, isn't she?
Right. But this is the thing about RG3 here. RG3 got a good message. He always fuck it up, though. Why is he using the Cleveland Show voice? Just talk, RG3 always doing it. He always doing it. He's right. Y'all coming at these kids. These kids are black kids. And they're black kids. What he said about black men is true. But why are you talking like the Cleveland Show, though? I am saying that while I'm wearing a lab coat, though. So
I was going to say, do you think you inspired him wearing the black hat? He's wearing a black cowboy hat in the video. You notice
He's
that?
from Texas.
So
Yeah, he's from Texas. Yeah.
not everybody's walking around wearing a black cowboy hat from Texas. Actually, I don't think I've ever really seen him in one.
Yeah. Shout out to RG3. Okay, last thing real quick before we get out of here. I just want to know what you think about this. Twitter dad at Reggie Yates. He posted a response to a father's Twitter post, a picture of himself in his car
Reggie
that's
Yates
gone
is a
viral.
woman.
There's a guy on
Sorry.
Twitter.
What?
Reggie Yates is a woman.
Twitter. Reggie Yates is a woman on Twitter. And she posted a response to a father's Twitter post. Picture of himself that's gone viral. Now, there's a guy on Twitter. And he has always been tweeting about, this is what Reggie says, about wanting a daughter. His most recent I want a daughter tweet was just 3 years ago. This guy says that he wants a daughter. He wants a daughter. He's wanted a daughter for a long time on Twitter. It turns out he already had a daughter. The daughter is 10 years old.
I hate this. I hate all of this.
He's been paying child support for the daughter since she was born. The reason he's been absent from the daughter is because he had issues with the mother. Now, this was a big thing. He had just gone to see the girl, and it was a beautiful picture of this guy with his daughter. And they were hanging out, and he's like, now he's in his daughter's life. She said his fellow African Americans are now calling him the Don Dada of deadbeats because it was revealed that he lived just 3 hours away from the child who he hasn't seen. He posted a picture from the meet and greet he had with his daughter. His sister's been doing a lot of stuff to defend him, even spilling the fact that his own father was an absent father as well. People are saying like father, like son. I want to know, Rachel, shut up, Rachel. I want to know what you think about this story. So he's in his daughter's life now.
Oh, you don't need to explain it. I hate this so much. Why do we know about this? Like, let's just start there.
Homie.
We don't need to know. I don't care. I do care that you are involved in your daughter's life now. And so I'm not going to knock you for the 10 years you weren't there. I mean, like, that's a problem. But I am happy that a young daughter, young girl has her father in her life. And I hope you stay in her life. But man, we didn't need to know this. You didn't need to involve us in your business. You definitely didn't need to post a picture. It's almost as if you wanted validation. I don't know why you were posting that. Like, do you want a hand clap for finally seeing your daughter? Sir, go be with your daughter, spend quality time, make up for the time lost, and continue to stay in her life and hopefully be a good, role model, presence in her life, whatever. But like, enough. I don't want to hear or see from this man again or his sister. Y'all go be a family off the internet.
You ever heard of ball busting before?
Yes. Yes.
Tell me what you know about ball busting.
No, I don't. I just said I have. Keep going.
No.
Is there a difference? No, it's not a quiz. No. I said I know what it is. Keep it going. Is there more than one definition of? Is there more than one definition of ball busting?
I want to know which definition of ball busting that you're talking about right now, because I definitely don't think that it's the same one I'm talking about.
Ball busting is like busting somebody's balls in their balls. It's like a
but,
not literally, but figuratively, like. Is there
Donnie?
more than one definition of ball busting? Like if I'm getting at,
Donnie.
if I'm a woman, I'm getting at a man, or if I'm somebody getting at a man, like I'm busting them in their balls, like I'm getting at them.
Yeah, that's
Donnie,
how I'm reading.
Do you know what I'm talking
too.
about?
I don't. I'm hearing like yay, you're breaking my balls. You're busting my balls. That kind of thing. I'm listening. Yeah.
No. Okay.
I'm talking about a form of sexual gratification where...
Of course he is, Donnie.
a man enjoys getting his balls kicked, stomped.
Oh
with
my
a woman with
God.
heels. Donnie?
Oh my gosh.
The woman with heels mashing on his balls, stomping on his balls, kicking them dead in his balls, and they love it. They love it. Ball busting. Busting balls, getting your balls busted out. They love it. I'm talking about
Okay, where
stamping on their balls.
where are we going with this?
I think that sometimes there are people on Twitter that like to be digitally ball busted. I think that there are people on Twitter that just like it. They like to, it's a fetish to get your balls busted on Twitter and have everybody hating on you. Because some of the shit that y'all do is no fucking way. You've been talking about you want a daughter for 3-4 years on Twitter. You got a daughter live 3 hours away from you. You paying child support, but you can't go play Nintendo. I'm not saying that this guy's a bad person. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I think what he did was bad by not being in the daughter's life, no matter what happened with the mother, but got so much time left. It could be a beautiful story, and I hope that it is. But to your point, I personally think that he wanted his balls busted on Twitter. You had to have wanted this, because there's no way you thought a whole Twitter sphere full of people who have, some of them who have been through this exact same situation, that lived across the street, down the way, a town over from their daddy, who probably had a full family, was doing all kinds of stuff that they're gonna be like, that's cool. I'm glad. Great end of the story right there. Put a ribbon on it. No, you wanted your balls busted. They stepped on your balls. They crushed them. They kicked them, and you liked it.
People said he was a truck driver, so he was used to driving. So 3 hours would finish.
3 hours, nothing. It's funny, bro. All right. We gotta get out of here, but I might be doing the next Van Lathan is coming up next Monday. It's the top 10 cartoon dogs. I'm doing it for fun. The top 10 dogs of cartoons. Top 10 cartoon dogs. Think about this. It was Bosa's birthday not too long ago, and I forgot to celebrate Bosa's birthday. Top 10 cartoon dogs. My little puppy is 4. And so I love him. Top 10 cartoon dogs. Before I leave, I want to say this. I got to give out a quick award. Hater of the Week. Hater of the Week is number 3 from Auburn. The Auburn basketball team got in a fight on a plane. And one of the guys involved is one of the biggest haters in basketball. I don't know if y'all saw this clip, but there's a clip of Auburn. They're playing in the game against a vastly overmatched team. And one of the players, his name is Kelly, is on a heater. He is cooking. I'm talking about one of those ones that you think about years from now where you just can't miss. If you played a lot of basketball, hopefully you've been through it. And the funniest thing about the video is his teammate, who is in the corner begging for the ball while he's on a heater. Rachel, did you see this video?
No, I did not.
It's like his head slumped over, body language all pure, while this nigga is cooking. And then there was a fight on the Auburn team plane.
I did see that.
And they had to turn the plane around, and most people were like, I bet it's that number 3. And guess what? Number 3 was involved in the fight. So shout out to him.
Number 3 was the one who was cooking or who didn't get the ball?
He was the no one that was hating. I'm talking about hating on this man. Like, hold on, you guys gotta see the video. Donnie, you gotta play the video, bro. He is hating on this man. This man is cooking. There's one still from the video where the entire bench is up, celebrating that this guy has hit another 3. They all like, oh, and in the corner, homeboy's just bent over, like head down. Hatred. Hater of the Week. Number 3 from Auburn. I'm not going to call your name out because you're a young man. You're a good player. I'm sure but you got to be happy when your teammates is cooking, man. You got to be happy when your teammates is cooking. You have to.
Because you're a team.
All right.
You're
Detective
a team.
Lindsay.
Jockey Howard.
Why did you call his name out? You're a freshman.
You know what they need to turn this into?
Jockey?
Remember those sportsmanship commercials? Remember those commercials that were like, bro. They need to make this into one of those commercials. Here's the ball, man.
Bruh.
He sees his teammate slumped over there. He looks. The clock ticks down. 5, 4. He throws the ball to him. He gives it to his teammate. Teammate misses, airballs it. Sportsmanship.
That one sportsmanship commercial. I tell you straight up, if you ever go to the refs and tell the ref you stepped out with the game on the line, I will beat your motherfucking ass. Are you crazy?
You're jockey. It's going down on the plane. It's going down.
I'll beat your fucking ass. You mean to tell me I done burned all of these calories trying to win this game? We didn't caught a break, and your dumb ass, you didn't go over there and told the ref, I was actually out. That's the dumbest commercial ever made. I'm sorry. That's the type of shit Donnie would do. All right, we out of here, man. All right, joy. We're joyful. It's a joyful podcast, higher learning. Okay, we're out of here. Appreciate all the support from you guys. We will continue to have joy. And Trump, Rachel is right. Trump watch has begun. It's Trump watch is going to start as Trump transition watch. Trump. I got bad news for you, Donald. You're transitioning. Donald Trump is transitioning
only
now.
for a couple of months. Only for a couple of months.
Donald Trump is transitioning. He must watch him come up with a new word. We don't want him to be called a transition.
This is the first time he's transitioning because he didn't last time. He never accepted it. He never accepted the results. So he never transitioned last time. This is the first.
We have to transition the first time.
He didn't transition really.
2016. He had to transition.
He accepted. He no. After, no. He never accepted the results. Okay. Tell him what to do.
Take Think Capsule, but do not stop learning. I am Lathan Jr.
And your lab coats. I am Rachel Lindsay. You like that? Bye, guys.